Hey Fitheads, today we have Jeremy Abramson, founder of E3 Lifestyle. He's a high performance coach and he's figured out exactly how to thrive, and he gives us a complete overview of his method.
He's also got more energy than anybody I ever met. Spoilers, it could be from all the
We
mushrooms,
do.
but we'll let him tell you.
Love it.
Welcome to Total Fitheads.
Serious fitness for not so serious people.
Hey Fitheads, and welcome Jeremy Abramson. We're so glad to have you.
Hey, you got my name right on the first try.
Really, is that hard to do?
Sometimes people say Abramson. There's a little hesitation, so I'm glad we got off to a fast start.
Heck yeah. I'm already feeling your energy. That's your thing, right? It's like energy.
We're transmitting it through the screen right now. It's powerful. Yeah, energy is currency for sure. So, we have these different magnetic and electric charges coming from our body through our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and those can be felt, even virtually. It might be a little more challenging, but you can kind of pick up on when someone is down or when someone is maybe not as engaged or present.
Ooh, yeah, I never thought about that. I mean, it's this COVID thing is like completely changing, the energy relationship because it's all just like through the screen now.
Yeah, for sure. Are you missing that piece of human connection?
No, I didn't think so. I'm like, whatever, I don't need people. But now I'm like, well, maybe.
Yeah. I know. I feel like at least for me, it's been like a really beautiful process, but the last maybe 4 to 6 weeks of like I do miss these certain aspects because it has been a great time for me personally to go inward and create things that I probably wouldn't have in normal conditions. However, I'm an extremely social being and I actually facilitate a lot of live events and stuff like that. So I definitely feel like it has, just like everyone else, penetrated me at some point, and we're just doing the best we can to navigate. Thank goodness for tools like Zoom and the ability to create and conversate and get to know each other and connect regardless of where we are in the world. It's pretty special.
How has this helped then? What have you started creating that you wouldn't have because of this change?
For sure. So great question. For me, it was putting together, it actually started a couple weeks before COVID, but I knew that I had all of this wealth of knowledge, accumulation of skills, and I was working with people before a lot, mostly in person, doing like training, but the body stuff, the fitness stuff, still important to me, and I'm passionate about it. However, I understand it's just one part of the puzzle, right? So for me, it was about putting everything that I've learned from some of the best teachers and practitioners in the world into a high ticket coaching program. And that's what I created, and that's what Thrive is. And it's beautiful to see. I mean, it took a lot of work, a lot of organization, a lot of long nights, a lot of early mornings, getting all the pieces right and really creating something that I think is unique and one of a kind. So I would like to say that I would have made that all happen if this didn't happen, but who knows?
And so Thrive is thriving in COVID. Is this something that like is still working at social distancing, or are you sort of setting it up to start working with people once we open up more?
Yeah, so Thrive is completely remote. My
Cool.
clients now are in Melbourne, Australia, London, England, Indianapolis, Indiana, Portland, Oregon, and it's completely remote. We have this type of communication once a week. We have daily communication via text and accountability. But if you want, we can get more into like the nitty gritty. And what I found is with like a high ticket coaching item, right? Like, are you guys both training people one on one?
I'm not.
No.
You're not. Were
Mm-mm.
you guys before or no?
No, I never. I mean, I have a coaching certification for CrossFit, but I never actually planned to use it for working with people.
Okay. No, that's awesome. So most people, right, when it comes to like training or coaching, they're trading their time for money. And usually they undercharge because they don't understand the value that they bring to the table. And
That
what
was my
happens
hesitation
is,
there. I was like, because I didn't want to get into that idea of, that's not where I want to spend my time, is my X amount of hours equals X dollars. And so I put my focus elsewhere, but it's interesting to hear your take on it.
yeah, for sure. And I just see it because I have another business where I coach a lot of young health and wellness entrepreneurs and professionals. And that's the biggest limiting belief, is like the self-worth. Hey, how do I charge more? How do I ask for what I deserve? And what I found is when people pay, they pay attention. So my program is not cheap. However, I know that everyone who's gone through it has transformed in a major way. And the reason is, one of them is because they're committed. They're fully committed to the process. They know it's not going to be easy. They know there's going to be some resistance, but they know what they signed up for. They know that they signed up to make their health and wellness, their longevity, a priority. So that's one of the things, that I noticed when I was just coaching before that, was like, people show up late. People maybe have a lack of regard. And ultimately, I knew that wasn't something I wanted to perpetuate. So it had to involve me looking in the mirror. Hey, how do I want to show up in the world? What value do I want to add? What impact do I want to create? And then getting to work.
That's interesting, because then you have this filter where it's like you are only working with people that have motivation, right? Because they have committed to shelling out and being there with you. But then it leads me to think like, well, a lot of these programs are just like there to help people get the motivation. You're already working with people that are motivated. So then it becomes like the next step is like, what are you bringing to the table? Like, why do they need you if they're so motivated?
These are great questions. So my thought on motivation is that motivation will help trigger you and get you started, but it's not going to be enough to keep you going. You need systems, you need habits, you need structure, you need accountability. And this is something that those people usually lack. Maybe they have it very structured with their work life, but what about their morning routine? What about their evening routine? How do they know when to disconnect and shut off and be present with their family? How do they know to get out of this fight or flight where they're constantly stressed and their cortisol levels are sky high, right? So these are things that we go over and much more, but it comes to the point, obviously, where most of these people who I enroll in my vision, they've been following my work via one of the platforms, and they align with my values. They see that I'm more than just movement, or more than just nutrition, or more than just lifestyle and mindset. It's accumulation of all of these things.
Yeah. Interesting that you talk about the
Max is quiet over there. Max, you got something to say, bro?
No, I mean, it sounds like a total, like a lifestyle. How do you describe it to people?
So there's a sales process, right? I mean, like, it's getting people on a Zoom and really finding what their pain points are. A lot of times people create a program without understanding who it's for. Whenever you're creating something, you have to understand, you have to identify the lock. The lock is the problem, and you have to come with the key to open up the lock, right? Too many people get so attached to their own program or their own product. They're like, yo, my shit's so dope. For who? For you? Or for the people you're trying to impact and help? And that's why a lot of times people don't succeed in creating a really impactful program. So, I mean, like, we'll jump into a little of the context, and like cut me off at any point if I'm like, dude, shut up. Is that cool?
No, we're getting into that's what we got
great.
you here for.
Yeah.
Is there cussing?
You already said the F-bomb, so let's get into
cool.
it.
I'm probably going to say it a handful more times as well. Okay. So, like most people, I spend most of my life just living, unconscious of my thoughts, feelings, emotions. And this is the way that I feel like most people navigate through life. They're going through the motions and never truly unleashing their potential. So the average American is 20 pounds overweight, over $10,000 in debt, depressed, and dislikes their job. So I say being average. I don't know about you, but I want to be anything but average. I don't want to settle for mediocrity. I don't want to just survive. I want to thrive. And after studying and learning from some of the top teachers and practitioners in the world, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the likes of Joe Dispenza, Wim Hof, Don Miguel Ruiz. I discovered on my human experience that there's really 6 components to living a life full of abundance, love, joy, success. And are you ready to hear those?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, as the son of a neurologist, I've always been a huge fan of finding hacks to learn and be more focused and be more effective, right? So I'm a huge fan of these acronyms because I believe it helps us retain this information in a more powerful way. So the acronym for everyone who's listening to remember is THRIVE. And T is for thoughts, because we have over 60,000 of them every single day. And 90% of those thoughts that we have today are the same ones that we had yesterday, right? And a majority of these thoughts are subconscious. We're going through these things and we're perpetuating the same thoughts, which trigger the same emotions, and we're not even aware that it's happening, right? So a lot of people are filled with these toxic thoughts that either involve them ruminating in the past, which I call rear view mirror syndrome, and understand that by constantly dwelling on the past, we're perpetuating the same average results, right? We're creating the same future based on past events and experiences. So I think this is a big reason why so many people are suffering with, depression. I have people in my family who are going through struggles right now as well, and it's hard to watch. And I'm doing my best to help them in a way that gives them space and allows them the opportunity to gain awareness, right? While also feeling heard and feeling supported. So if you're not dwelling on the past, chances are that you're worried about what's happening next. What do I have to do next? When am I going to be able to travel again? When are my kids going to be able to return to school? When is life going to go back to normal? When the am I going to be able to go to the grocery store without a mask on? Right? And understand that both of these thought patterns are fear-based. And when you're operating from fear, your level of stress hormones that we talked about earlier, like cortisol, skyrocket. And this fight or flight approach really weakens your immune system and literally causes inflammation to the body on a cellular level. So I don't think it's a coincidence that half of our country in America were suffering from chronic disease like diabetes, obesity, and heart disease, because that stress causes inflammation, and that inflammation drives disease. So are there any questions that you have about that?
No, yeah, I'm totally in agreement with all of this, that we need to pay a lot more attention to like how stress is actually physiologically affecting us. Although, I'm more about the yeah, let's talk the science part of it than the mentality that isn't connected to numbers, but like it's
For
all the
sure.
same,
We're going to get into numbers for sure.
But
and one of the other things that I like doing, Ali and Max, is like offering people solutions rather than just presenting problems. And I feel like in our country right now, especially, like there's constantly people presenting problems without offering solutions. Like, hey, this many deaths, this is happening, that is happening. Okay, like what are some things that we can actually do to take ownership of the situation and be in a better position to overcome this? So right now, I know a lot of people are living in fear because of COVID. And here's a couple simple solutions if you want to preserve your mental health and peace of mind. So number one is really be conscious of how much you're watching the news. Of course, you want to stay updated with what's going on in your community, but the whole objective of these news stations is to instill fear. So you stay watching, so your eyes stay glued. I mean, there's never been a more prominent time for TV right now. like TV was obsolete the last 5 years. No one was watching TV. Like even grandmas and grandpas I knew, they're not even watching Price is Right anymore. They're like Netflixing and shit. So understand that the news is all fear-based. It's going to get those survival emotions and get you living in a place of constant anxiety. So really be mindful. Maybe limit yourself to a half hour a day, right? Also, create some sort of affirmation that you say before you go to bed, because your first thought in the morning is almost always going to be the same as your last thought at night.
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
okay.
That's a thing. Yeah, I mean, if you just look at any, like Andrew Huberman's work, he's a top neuroscientist at Stanford. And I don't know, maybe now you guys can be a little more conscious of this. Is like, okay, I'm gonna like go to sleep and maybe like write down something that you're grateful for, or some like a really happy moment that brought you a lot of joy, and like have your mind on that before you go to sleep, and then see the impact that makes when you wake up. And I personally know, like, if I have like a disagreement with one of my parents, or like one of my friends, or a conversation that kind of rubs me the wrong way, and then I go to sleep, like, first of all, I sleep probably like shit, and then I wake up and I'm like, and I'm feeling a little on edge. I know there's something out of alignment. So that is something very simple that people can start doing. And honestly, once we realize that most of these fears consist of made up stories and beliefs, we can start taking ownership of our inner world and start to really unleash our potential. So finishing up with thoughts, that's what T stands for in Thrive. It's important to remember that our thoughts are the vocabulary of the brain, and they literally change our gene expression. So these thoughts also manifest into feelings and emotions, and our feelings and emotions create our habits. So H is for habits. Is there anything you guys had about thoughts that you wanted to maybe ask about or add?
I mean, your goal is to control your thoughts and then affect your subconscious that way. Is that kind of what you're saying, that like you have control of your thoughts?
So yes and no. Obviously, we're going to have up thoughts that come in and come out. But the more that we can be conscious and aware of them, and understand that most of them are not true and they're just made up things that we've somehow convinced ourselves are true, then we can start to rewrite our program. And that program is the subconscious mind that has been really developed, our childhood, starting at a very young age, and we can start rewiring some of these connections in our brain.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me, because controlling your thoughts will just, one, be ineffective, and then give you more anxiety about the fact that you aren't in control, when really you're talking more about like recognizing and recoding how you handle your thoughts versus actually controlling what goes through your mind.
For sure. I feel like most of the stuff sorry guys, I'm just adjusting this. For me, it's all about, like, with my clients too, it's all about awareness. Whether it's movement, whether it's nutrition, I'm saying do this, do that. In a way I am, especially when we get started, but the goal is for you to start to understand what your body needs at that given time. And that's intuition. And that's something we all have, but a lot of times, again, through whatever programs we've been running, we've neglected our intuition. So we all have that potential, but a lot of us have just gotten disconnected, especially the people I work with. They've achieved a level of success in business and financially, and oftentimes that's come at the expense of their health, of their relationships, of their sleep. So it's almost like, instead of their business being their top priority, like it's been the last 20 years, now they're making themselves their top priority, which is a pretty powerful shift. And I think this time is the best time, right, to like actually tap into your health, because we do have more time. There's less travel and less distractions. So I mentioned that our thoughts manifest into those feelings and emotions, and those feelings and emotions create your habits. I mean, if you think about a time where you're angry, like let's say you get in a fight with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, and like you're hot, like you're pissed, right? You're convinced that you're right and they're wrong. You're probably going to say some stupid shit that you're going to regret the next day.
Me,
No, of
never.
course, Ali's not going to. Maybe just Max and I. Maybe just the men are the emotional ones
course.
here. But understand, like, right? It's a reality. Those feelings and emotions are going to dictate our behaviors. So we talked about, you asked Ali about like motivation, and a big reason clients seek me out is because they haven't been motivated. They don't have that intrinsic motivation to do the things that they know they should be doing. So motivation will get you started maybe, but the habits are what's going to keep you going, right? And we need to remember that motivation, again, ideally comes from inside of you rather than externally. And there's a lot of books and research about habits. You know, it's a hot topic.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know.
Scott Adams, love it.
Yeah. And James Clear. Have you guys read the Atomic Habits by James Clear?
I have not. I don't need it. I'm too busy having habits. I can't fit the book in.
Yes, I love it. You're too busy thriving.
Heck yeah.
Is what you need. So there's a lot of books and research around habits, and the College of London says it takes 66 days to form a new habit. I personally think that's bullshit. I mean, no disrespect to their researchers and the college. I'm sure it's a nice institution. But did it take 66 days to get consistent with you guys making your bed?
Oh, I thought you were saying working out. I'm too busy being effective to make my bed. I'm so against that whole make your bed in the morning thing.
Okay.
Everyone's like, this start your day out right. Bull crap. I have stuff to do.
You probably have a maid at this point. But I'm just saying, did it take you 66 days to learn?
Oh, you don't want to go down this path with me? No, of course not. I feel like I make habits. What about brushing your
teeth, Ali? I know you got clean teeth.
This is a filter. This is fake. Yeah.
Hey,
no, I get it. I get what you're saying.
There's a difference between
learning
learning how to do something and instilling a habit, though. Like I know how to throw a baseball. It doesn't mean I'm a starting pitcher. You know, that takes a lot of. So how do you develop a habit then?
Exactly. So I'm glad you asked. So really, in my opinion, first of all, it takes some level of commitment. Like the person has to want to do it. They have to see the feeling and emotion that's tied to doing that thing. So coming back to feelings and emotions, hey, like, you know, a 10-minute stretch in the morning, that seems like a hassle, but what's the feeling and emotion tied to it? Hey, you're going to feel lighter. Hey, you're going to feel more capable of doing whatever it is you need to. You're going to feel more athletic. You're going to feel more inspired to take on the day.
Are you tying that emotion to the actual, like, the day of doing it? Or is it like the ultimate goal of being able to do a full split?
No, definitely not.
Which one?
Like the way that I approach movement in my program is, you know, the first call we have, I do a movement assessment with them to find any imbalances and asymmetries in their joints and their body. And then I create a specific program with them, and they have access to like all of our back office in our program. And it's me coaching them through each movement. And then each 2 weeks, based on how they're progressing, we'll shift the program and continue challenging them. But in regards to addressing Max's question, it's not in regards to instilling it, right? So the first week is almost always unbearable, right? Whether it's having your phone on airplane mode for the first 30 minutes or taking a cold shower, it's going to suck probably the first week, especially if you're 40 years old and you've never done these things, right? We have to rewire these neural connections. So the second week will be uncomfortable. It won't be as shit. And then the third week, though, is when you start to really feel unstoppable because you've cultivated the confidence. and you've kept the promises to yourself. And just a couple tips for everyone listening. A lot of people try to add 4 huge habits at once. You know, they try waking up at 5 a.m., doing CrossFit, going vegan, eliminating sugar, all in the same week. And that's not sustainable. So what my approach is just starting small and creating momentum. It's like small wins, we get a little dopamine hit. And then we have a desire like, hey, what's possible? I can do this. Now I want more. So that's going to really put you in a position to succeed, is just starting small and stacking those successes, right? So the next thing is, again, like I mentioned earlier, is just tying every action to a feeling or emotion. So how is going to bed earlier going to make you feel the next day? Well, you're probably going to feel more energized, more refreshed, more alert, more focused. Well, how's that going to affect everything that you do with work? How's that going to affect the time you're spending with your loved ones, right? So you start to understand the effect of each of your actions and behaviors. And by making these changes, you're really shifting the entire landscape of your life.
Yeah, when you talk about like one habit at a time or like small wins, it's because like you only have so much motivation, right? And it's across the board your whole life. I'm sure you're familiar with this concept that like you have one bucket of motivation and wherever you put it like takes away from the other stuff, right? And so if you're just putting it
yes and no. I think everything is yes, I definitely see what you're saying. And my answer to that would be like, it's really what I found in my experience, like a case by case basis. So I have some clients who are like, yo, give me more. I'm fucking ready. And I'm like, bro, we've already done a lot in 2 weeks. Like, let's make sure that we instill these things, but that's like who they are. You know, I work with like a lot of type A guys who are like, let's get it done. Mm-hmm. You know, they think they're like 20 again. Like they're starting to get that testosterone going. They're like, yeah, give me more. So sometimes it's about like curbing that and being like, okay, like let's take a step back, assess where we're at, and really make sure that we've gained an understanding for these concepts. Some people want to go slower. They're like, hey, this is, you know, having this green drink in the morning, doing my morning movement, getting some sunshine in the morning. Like that's enough for me for this week. And that's fine too. So that's why I only work with a very select few people at a time, because it's very highly customized based on who they are and the way that they process information and the way that they are programmed.
Yeah. Is there a reason why you specifically focus on men?
For sure. So I'm a man. So I feel like I can relate to them better. And so many women hit me up for coaching. But to be honest, I just think there's probably better people out there for them. And it allows me to go very niche. Mm-hmm. I know who my person is that I work with. I know their pain points. It allows me to create content for them. It allows me to create messages for them. And it just makes things really smooth and really, really direct. And that's the reason. I love women. It's nothing about like, oh, fuck all the women out there.
they're too motivated. They're already too motivated. Yeah. They don't need any help.
Yeah, right. So yeah. So do you guys want me to continue going with Thrive?
Yeah, tell me about relationships.
Do you guys know what T&H stands for?
Thoughts and habits. Tom Holland.
There we go. There we go. So yeah, R is for relationships. And you've probably heard the expression before that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, or that your net worth is your network, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like those are both true statements for sure. However, with that being said, I feel like we need to make sure that we're attracting the energy and vibration that we want to. And in order for that to happen, we need to invest in the relationship with ourselves. So the best relationships I'd love to get your guys' input, are built on respect, trust, love, generosity,
Mutual love of
right?
CrossFit.
Yeah.
Abs.
Abs,
It's
for sure.
abs.
But here's the thing. You can't give all of those things to other people if you don't give them to yourself. You can't show someone how to get abs if you haven't gone through that process. I mean, maybe you could, but that's not. I got a little sidetracked with the CrossFit and abs comment. You guys threw me off a little
I
bit.
love the
But we do.
relationships. Your first relationship is yourself. I feel like so many people just completely forget it. And I feel like I know people, like friends and family, that like neglect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Or shit
Especially
talk.
women,
it's
bro.
crazy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why are you giving me a plate when you don't have a plate? We should both be eating. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
and
common.
there's times for sure, like I always say, right? I mean, let me see, do I have a glass here? Okay. So this is a coffee cup. It's a bad example because there's actually coffee in it. But if I was to give
Is it half full?
some, what's
Is it
that?
half full?
Ah.
Yeah, it is. It's actually a little more than half full.
60%.
Yeah, I got my mushrooms in here too.
Oh, you're thriving.
Yo,
Ooh.
bro, the mushrooms are clutch for thriving.
That was on my
We
list of
can
questions. I don't want you to get sidetracked, but that was definitely on my list of questions for sure.
Yeah, dude, I'm down to talk about mushrooms as much as you want. So if I'm trying to give you some coffee, but there's no coffee in my cup, it doesn't work. But if my coffee cup is overflowing, full of that delicious organic fair trade brew, then I can give you some. And it's going to feel so much better because it's like, yo, like I can't drink all this. There's so much love and gratitude in my cup. Like, Allie, take some of this. Max,
Mhm.
take
Thank you.
some. Yeah, I got you. Don't worry. So to build up that relationship with yourself, it requires action. So you need to address your thoughts, emotions, habits, and make sure that they're in alignment with the type of relationships you want to attract. So, Max, maybe you can relate to this, but I have a friend, one of my homies, and whenever I go to see him, which isn't very often these days, but it's usually like to watch a sports game. And he'll literally just be like talking about girls. He'll have one hand in his pants, one in a bag of like Doritos, or maybe if he's on like a healthy tip, he'll be on like some
He's
I don't
stealing your
even know
brand,
what a
Max.
healthy chip is these days, but you know what I mean. He's got one hand in his bag of chips. He's got one in his pants. He's like, yo, bro, like, yo, I just want a girl, man, who's healthy, who works out, who's got a booty, who's nice, who's funny. And I'm like, dog, like, look at yourself right now, though. You're watching 4 hours of Sports Center when sports aren't even happening in the world.
Yeah.
Like, and your hands are in your pants, so you're not going to be able to attract that into your life because you're not embodying those things that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Does that make
I
sense?
always said the best way to find interesting people is to be interesting yourself. But that, like,
sure,
I feel like a
man.
lot of people just don't, I think that's a common thing is it's not like entitlement. It's like they sort of expect awesome things or awesome people to like come into their life and they're not really like trying to do anything cool. Does that make sense?
Well, this may be a
Sure.
sidetrack, but Max, you're also really good at being interested in other people. I think this is one of your like born gifts is that you can speak to anyone and find what they're doing interesting and like suddenly that relationship becomes fun for both of you. You're just like
Yeah.
next level at that. Do you know what I mean?
Thanks. I'm flustered.
Yeah. So Max, what are some of the things you do to create that level of interest and intrigue?
I don't know. I guess it typically starts with a beer getting cracked, not to or actually that's not true. A bag of chips being opened or, a protein shake being smoothied or whatever, but I don't know. I
Hey.
guess I've found over the years that people who like surface level seem pretty bland or blah or whatever or vanilla, like there's something there that something's churning around. And I know that like a lot of times in my life when um like I'm having a horrible day and somebody does something minuscule, it like throws me completely off. And so then it's always like, don't be mean because you never know what somebody else's day is going through, blah, blah, blah. So it's sort of that theory. But on the other hand, which is that like, be nice because maybe someone will shock you with an interesting tidbit or, you know what I mean? Or something like that.
For sure.
But it is, yeah. It's funny getting to know people. I mean, that's why we started the podcast, part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's so fun to just like ask people meaningful questions and knowing and most of the time, it's like, yo, I know this person is not ready for this, but I'm gonna ask them anyway. Like, hey, hey, Lauren, you know, what are you committed to creating
Yeah.
today?
Somebody asked me
What
that
is-
one time when I was at we were at the working out at Santa Monica Beach, and we were just messing around. Somebody goes, "So man, what are your goals?" And I was like, "I
Like
don't
upper
know, a
peck.
fucking burrito. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, I'm totally." And then, but you know, long story long, I'm still thinking about it. You know, like he mind fucked me pretty good. You know.
a great way to, I mean, I'd love to hear Ali's, you know, point of view on this, but like, uh, it's a great way to actually like get a woman very curious about you. Cause here's the thing, like women are so used to men just trying to f them most of the time. Like, and the guys who have game just do it in a more sly way where it seems like they actually give a shit and care about the girl. However,
God forbid.
when you can, yeah, when you can actually like genuinely ask questions and like with zero intention of like, hey, I wanna hook up with you or any of those things, and you're actually just doing it like to ask and be curious, it really mind them. And you can see like they're like playing this game, right? Because they have these programs going on, going back to these thoughts. They've been hurt before by, you know, three ex-boyfriends who, you know, went behind their back and cheated on them and talked shit and sent like their private video to his homie or whatever it was. So now they have trust issues and they put up these walls. And I feel like for me, one of the challenges that I experience, but I've kind of taken it as like a fun obstacle, is because I'm very like outgoing and like I don't really give a fuck. Like I'll if I see you, like I'll talk to you and have a conversation. And I know so many people have their guard up and they're not that way. So understand that like we all have these stories. Like I'm sure, you know, there's assumptions always being made of the way Ali is, or the way Max is, or the way I am. And people have these stories. So my biggest, like one of my biggest passions is like helping people break through some of their limiting beliefs and stories. And a way to do that is going back to like meaningful questions and being curious. Hey, like, and that's why I don't really like going out at night, by the way, even though that's not really a possibility with COVID. It's not really on topic to what we're talking about. Like clubs for me are just like the ultimate predator zone. It's like dark. There's lots of drugs, especially in Miami,
Can't
alcohol.
hear
And it's
anything.
like girls are
Yeah.
so used to getting hit on. And it's like, I don't want to just go up and grind up on a girl. I mean, I got good moves, but like, is that the message I want to put out into the world?
Right.
And yeah, so
I
It's
do think
weird
that
too,
system
even
of what?
being at the club. I never understood the concept of a club because you can't hear anything.
Right.
You're sort of just sitting there and it's like boom, 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 you know, and you're
You're
like,
like by yourself,
what am
basically.
I doing here? And on like a more personal note, I always thought the idea of a club was insane because the like the poorest of patrons, you know, the like the least important patrons, they're you know, they're dancing and they're on a dance floor, they're having a good time, they're moving around, and like the cool guys, air quotes, are like they're sitting in a back room, like a back corner, like sitting at a table being fucking lame. Like I never understood the idea of a club.
bro,
RIP clubs. I mean, are we ever going to go to the club again? Maybe in a week I'll be like, man, I miss clubs so bad.
I mean, I
No, I'm
do
in.
enjoy
Ready
dancing
for this
though.
conversation.
That's why
Yeah.
I go to the club, right? Is because I want to move to music and maybe have some people to do that with. But
Yeah.
not to like have a meaningful conversation or meet people, unless I guess they're dancing with me or show up with a barbell or something.
Hey, we're just gonna completely contradict everything we said. When I come to LA, we're gonna just go super
No
hard.
question.
We're gonna get bottle service, and we're gonna laugh at all the people who don't have it.
Bottles.
Yes.
We're gonna pop them.
I'm so down.
It's gonna be lit.
Twist offs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You already know. It's gonna get weird. So yeah, I don't know where we were
Where are
before
relationships?
all.
Wait, you didn't tell us about intention. Or did you? Is there more?
Oh no, we'll definitely get there. So yeah, in regards to what you said about like going to the club, especially I was just talking to my boy because I'm actually turning 30 in like a month, which is
Yay.
crazy.
Happy birthday. Crazy birthday party.
Dude. Yeah,
On
we were.
Zoom.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
But like so many people for their birthday, it's like, let's go to the club, let's pop bottles. It's like, dude, let's black out.
Yeah.
Let's not remember shit. And I'm like, yo, I want to remember this night. I want to remember every night. And if I don't like remember something,
take a video.
It's because on my terms, I'm choosing. Like I went into another galaxy through some sort of experience that maybe stripped away some memory, but that's going to be my choice. So yes, off to bottles and on to intention, right? So remember we spoke about relationships, like it seems like ions ago, and it all starts with you. So really looking at yourself in the mirror and being honest with yourself, giving yourself an honest assessment. How are you showing up in the world? Because that ultimately is going to be what you attract. So I is for intention, really infusing intention into every aspect of our life. You know, before you start your day, before you move your body, before you eat your meal, before you have a big meeting, before a conversation with a partner. And again, this is stuff that I really learned 6 months ago when I did a workshop with Joe Dispenza. But when you set intention, setting intention will be even more powerful if we associate it with an elevated emotion. So what are the feelings I'm experiencing from going on a run, from eating a delicious, healthy meal with delicious avocado and olive oil and salmon? What are those flavors? What are those emotions that I'm going to experience? I'm probably going to feel vibrant, energized, right? Connecting with our friends. What are those feelings that you're going to experience? And again, these elevated emotions will release different neurotransmitters in our bodies, such as oxytocin, and literally swell up our heart. That's what oxytocin does. It dilates your heart and pumps out more blood. So our emotions, again, are chemical residue from past experiences. So we can choose to make these experiences ones that bring us joy, freedom, and happiness, or past experiences that caused pain and anguish and resentment. And you were asking Ali about like the choice. You know, sometimes it feels like we don't have a choice because we're so stuck in our program, right? But the more that we can adopt these different practices, such as setting intention, matching it with an elevated emotion, that's how we can go from feelings of scarcity to abundance, replace fear with love, compassion instead of resentment. And it all starts with setting intention. And this will help us change some of our subconscious programming that isn't serving us.
Well, they talk about changing your programming and habits through hallucinogenics too. Have you ever like looked into that? That like it's really helpful for OCD and eating disorders, things like that, because we are stuck in these things that we don't even realize that we have these like mental constraints and these habits that we're doing over and over again, and people are starting to use hallucinogenics to get out of that.
For sure. Yeah, I think all, I don't even like to call them like drugs or hallucinogens. I like to call them just plant medicines because that's really what they are.
Like spinach
We
or
think of medicine. What's that?
spinach?
Yeah, exactly. We think of medicine as like pills and creams, and that's poison most of the time. So yeah, plant medicines have been a huge part of my personal journey. I would say probably the most impactful experience I had was with ayahuasca 2 years ago in Peru, which was extremely impactful and enlightening and helped create a lot of momentum in my life. And then mushrooms are huge. I microdose with psilocybin probably 2 to 3 days a week. And this is coming from the son of a neurologist who is very in that Western medicine world. And, as much as I love and respect my dad, it's one of the things that we disagree on is hey, like there's so much research about the benefits of psilocybin, and it actually creates more neuroplasticity in the brain. Neuroplasticity just being the ability to create more neural connections, right? And you talk about SSRIs, which are these antidepressants and these other medications, which I understand have a place and sometimes are necessary. But I mean, psilocybin is so powerful for like really tapping into the present moment and becoming aware of some of your programs. And don't get me wrong, like there's other ways to do it, breath work, meditation, all these things are very useful and people should implement those before they do mushrooms. In my opinion, you should try like all of the, most natural things, and mushrooms are natural too, but tap into those. And yeah, like psilocybin for me has been a game changer. I've implemented it with clients, helped tremendously in different areas, building more compassion, more joy, connecting more with like your childlike wonder and curiosity. So huge fan of those.
Interesting. Very cool.
Yeah. And, the thing I was showing you guys earlier, this is no psilocybin in here, but this is medicinal mushrooms. Mm-hmm. So things like lion's mane, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with like lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi, chaga. These are all really powerful ways to strengthen our immune system and boost actually our mental cognition. Things like lion's mane have been used in Chinese medicine for probably thousands of years to prevent things like dementia and improve memory and cognition.
Interesting. Yeah, what I worry about is like finding the right mix, or the stuff that isn't fake, that's well made, that because there are a lot of fakes out there, or just like below the amount of dose that you actually would have any effects.
There's a lot of phonies out there, Ali. I'm glad you mentioned that. So the reason I really fuck with this brand is, first of all, you can see it's all glass packaging. Mm-hmm. All of so when you talk about mushrooms specifically, there's something called the fruiting body, which is essentially like the cap of the mushroom and like the main stem that it connects to. And then you have mycelium. The fruiting body is where all of the beta glucans are. And the beta glucans are what increase your white blood cell count and improve your immunity. But a lot of the mushroom companies and supplements use mycelium because it's much cheaper. Mm. And because America doesn't really give a fuck about the health of its people, you don't need to put on labels like, hey, this is the cheap mycelium. Hey, this is, right? Obviously, this says like, hey, this is 100% organic fruiting bodies because they want to distinguish themselves. But I agree for sure. Like most supplements and products, a lot of them, it can be a very confusing area to navigate because there is so much confusion and lack of integrity.
So I'm assuming you felt a physical difference from taking these then?
Oh, these are a game changer.
Yeah.
So I naturally have very good energy, but I naturally started taking just lion's mane at the farmer's market like 2 years ago because I was studying Chinese medicine and I saw what was happening and what was said about it. And some of the top doctors that I follow, also really recommend it. So I got that, took it for a couple months, liked it. Definitely noticed like a little boost. And then one of my mentors showed me this, and he's like, dude, I know you're all into health and brain and all of these things, and they're actually located here in Miami Beach. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna come check out the office. And like, I met the founder, met the botanist who creates the product. And for me, it's like, I almost explain it like nature's Adderall. It gives you like a very clean energy and focus. And I usually have it with I just always have it with my morning coffee, and you can't taste it.
So it's not like a supplement or working out where it's like you have to commit to this and take the right dosage and do it over time to see a difference. It was like you did it once and you're like, whoa, I need to keep having this stuff.
For me, I noticed it for sure. But I'm also very in tune to my body, and I also have a good energy. If you take like my client, for instance, who usually puts sugar and cream in his coffee, a bunch of poison, and they put mushrooms, and like they start taking these, like my clients, I mean, just through some of our programs, like they've healed a lot of what's the word? A lot of chaos in their gut, in their GI, in their digestion, in their metabolism, because there's so much toxicity there. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we work on is getting rid of inflammation, right? So in the form of sugar, vegetable oils, all of these things that are common culprits, and really getting a consistent practice of these powerful micronutrients and different things as the mushrooms do. So I can definitely, you know what we'll do? We'll actually hook up your listeners, and I'll send you guys, like basically they'll be able to, we'll talk about it after, but we'll come up with something cool for everyone who listens to the show.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Dope.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. All right. How you guys doing? Is this good for you? Are you guys enjoying the conversation?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We still have 2 more letters.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad you're keeping track. All right, so I'm all about retention. So tell me, what does THRI stand for?
Well, I'm cheating. I have notes here.
Ali. Damn it. Max, are you looking at your notes too?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We're great hosts.
Come on.
Well,
okay.
But, you actually want the answer. Okay. Thoughts, habits, relationships, intention.
Boom.
Vitality.
So
Boom.
V is for vitality, right? Energy is the most valuable currency you have. And if you dream of making an impact and creating something special, it's going to require a lot of energy. So we gain energy through movement, nutrition, sleep, and purpose. Purpose is, in my opinion, the ultimate fuel for our journey through life. And it all comes full circle, right? Because we need to make sure that we adopt the necessary habits to feed our energy levels throughout the day. And in addition, our energy levels are going to skyrocket once we are able to free our body from the chains of those habits and emotions that keep us anchored in the past.
You have people that come to you with like, I feel like they have purpose, because they're just like these businessmen that like know what they're doing. They built a business and that was their purpose. Is as a part of what you do sort of shift what their purpose is? Or is it actually just like helping them find a reason to live?
See, Ali, you are asking the thought-provoking questions that are going to just create and intrigue people and just want them to gravitate towards you. So yes and no, just like everything. So there's clients that I have who have built businesses, and like that's their baby, and like they feel super connected to the business, and like they feel very aligned with it. However, one of my clients, he was in the financial sector for the last 20 years. young guy, like 40 years old. And he was just very good at what he did. Like it's almost become so automatic for him where like he was actually lacking motivation, like to do anything in regards to work because he's so good at it. Like he's done it for 20 years. It's just become easy. It's like, you know, me going to a third grade class. Like it's the same, right? Like, okay. Oh, like 9 + 7. Ooh, this one's tricky. Like, no, you know, we're going to get bored. And for him, it was actually like the opposite. Like that was one of the things that he really wanted my guidance with, is like, how do we get closer to figuring out what our purpose is? Because it gets thrown around all the time. And, you know, when your identity is so tied to what you've been doing your previous 20 years, it's hard to get out of that narrative. So, you know, with him, we actually we did an exercise, and basically what this is, people can do it who are listening right now. You literally write down all of your curiosities. You write down 20 of them, 20 things that you're curious about, but you have to be specific. So it can't be like burritos, right? This is for Max. It can't be like eating burritos.
That's pretty specific.
That feels specific.
It can't be like cooking burritos. It would have to be like, it would be more specific. Like, hey, finding creative flavors and healthy alternatives to make and cultivate a delicious burrito that's going to fuel my energy. Something along those lines. So for him, we had him do this exercise. And then at the end, you circle all of the things that are like interrelated. So when I do this exercise, I have like body weight movement. I have how to get into flow state. I have the impact of food on the brain, right? And I see like all these things connected. That's actually how I created my program. Is I really tied all of my curiosities and levels of passion and into one thing that I knew would touch the pain points of my clients.
And you opened a burrito stand.
Unfortunately, Miami is very, very, very heavily concentrated with Latin food.
Love it.
I'd be better off doing like I don't even know. There's so much culturally diverse food here. Like hot dogs, like an American food. Like there's none of that here. You know what I mean?
So when you do this exercise, I feel like there could be like a lot of revelations. You don't realize like all these things connect, and then suddenly, yeah, you're opening a burrito stand because you didn't realize you were so into nutrition and flavors, and they're all like disparately connected, but then become, I don't know, do you find people being like, what? I'm a crossing guard now?
Not exactly crossing guards. However, definitely people have started side hustles in our work together. I feel like this guy who I'm telling you about is probably going to leave his job in like the next 3 months. And that's not necessarily, that's like not the intention, but it comes to a point where it's like, bro, you have all this money saved up and it's like, you're still not fulfilled or happy. So that should be the focus. What are the things that bring you joy? You know, that's cool that you have 5 million in the bank, but it's like, dude, if you're waking up and you're not feeling like excited for the day, then what's good? What good is the 5 million? I mean, you know, so people have definitely, I don't want to take responsibility for this, but I have helped people on the journey of, you know, starting something that they're passionate about, that they've been curious about for years, but they just haven't pulled the trigger, because one of the things that people fear the most is uncertainty. And that's why so many people right now are living in fear, is because it's so uncertain, right? So people want to leave, they want to make changes, but it's like, oh man, like I have so much safety and security. They're paying my health insurance. You know, I don't have to worry about this. They put money in my 401k. And before you know it, it's like, dude, you're 65. Cool. You take all your money out of your Roth IRA, but you're fucking miserable. And that's just not the way that we're programmed and designed to live. So I'm really passionate about, people stepping into their passions and their power. And that's something I'm honestly equally as passionate about as helping people with their health and wellness, is like helping people, other health and wellness entrepreneurs, like level up their business and level up their impact.
Cool.
Okay. So
I know what's coming. I'm really excited about it.
You know what E stands for?
I do. I just used a a synonym for the word that was leading into enthusiasm. There we are.
So before we actually go to E, again, I want to provide people with actionable steps. So like for your vitality, what does your morning routine look like? And the biggest thing that I would recommend is everyone's morning routine is going to look different. I would say pick the 3 things that are non-negotiables that you do every morning. And that doesn't include like brushing your teeth and making your bed. I'm talking about like, maybe for you, it is listening to your favorite song. Maybe it is walking your dog, taking a cold shower. The necessities should be hydrating a lot, right? I have my routine, which I definitely know works for me, and it works for other people as well. But I don't like to push, this thing or that thing. I think everyone should find what gives them energy and joy in the morning. But I do encourage you those first 30 minutes to like leave your phone on airplane mode, because if you don't, you're gonna become reactive to the messages, to the notifications that bombard you. And we don't want to start our day off being reactive to other people and other problems. We want to focus on ourselves. And with that being said, also, how do you wind down each day? We live in an era, it's a blessing and a curse. Like, we can work on our phones. We can always be working, but that's exactly the problem, right? Is like, sometimes we're like, and I'm guilty of this, because there's never not work to do. At least, like for me, there's always something to be working on. And for me, it's like, okay, 9 p.m., shutting those things off, airplane mode, getting into my nighttime routine, avoiding all of the screens and all the blue lights, and getting my body prepped to rest and recover. And then my final thing would be, are there any energy vampires that you need to remove out of your life?
Those humans or things?
What's
you mean
that?
Humans or things?
I mean humans.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean things too. Like,
yeah, definitely both.
Yeah, definitely both. In this specific context, I'm talking about people, because I feel like a lot of times we have people in our life that drain our energy, and they just add a lot of stress and drama to our life. And the thing is, oftentimes these people are our family, and like that can be challenging. But we need to really preserve our own peace of mind and really be conscious of like that environment that we're surrounding ourselves with.
So how many family members have you cut off? Is it like double digits or?
So I have a very small family, so I don't have that luxury, but I'm super, but I'm super grateful, because, I'm very close with both of my parents, and I only have one brother, and I'm very close with him as well. But there's also times where I have to understand, like, as I gain awareness, I understand when the beautiful thing about like doing this type of work is when you do it on yourself, you become more aware of how other people are operating. So I understand way more deeply my mom's program. Growing up poor in Manchester, England, I understand things about her, and like when she is maybe reacting in a certain way that might trigger me in the past, I'm much more compassionate and understanding now, because I'm like, she's not actually mad at me right now. I know that, but she's just coming from this place because it's triggering this thought or emotion, right? And it's the same thing with my dad. And it just allows there to be more communication and understanding. And before I really started doing this work deeply, I didn't have that level of connectedness. So I would just kind of react rather than understand, like, okay, this is where they're coming from right now. This is the best way to respond. So I think, honestly, like one of my clients, I would love, I'll show you guys this email later, but like, I mean, a couple of the people I've worked with, they were basically convinced they were getting divorced. And then through a couple of things we did, a couple of books we read, a couple of exercises we went through, like things started to repair, and they realized like, oh, like I was blaming them for that when in fact I was showing up in this way, and I was also a big part of the problem, right? And once you gain this awareness, it changes everything. So I think going back to just vitality, a lot of people think it's normal to feel tired during the day, and they've accepted mediocrity. And understand, I want everyone listening to understand that you weren't born to be mediocre. You were born to perform at a high level every single day until you die. So if you work with me, you'll probably live until like at least 120. That's when Moses lived to. And with the work we're doing, I'm convinced we're going to hit like 140, and you're going to be a freaking beast. Not just like living, you're going to be thriving at 140. You know, we're going to be golfing, tennis with our beautiful wives. It's going to be amazing.
Health span, not lifespan.
Exactly. You got it, Ali. So if you want to live an abundant life, it's going to require that peak vitality. And then finally, Ali, do you want to tell them what E's for?
Enthusiasm.
Give me an E. Yes. So finally, this is actually a really big one for the people I work with, because a lot of times they do have teams, they have companies. If it's not their own company, they're like a high-level manager or executive, so they do have a team underneath them. And enthusiasm is what enrolls people in your vision. So I work, like I said, I work with a lot of CEOs and founders who want to attract the best talent to their teams. And enthusiasm is a gateway to creating a culture that people are attracted to. And I don't think it's a coincidence that you have, 3 or 4 companies in the world right now attracting the best talent, whether it's Apple, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Amazon. These are the people that the most gifted and talented people want to be a part of, because they're so innovative and they have this culture that is appealing to them, right? So that enthusiasm is contagious. And yeah, enthusiasm comes from the Greek word. Do you guys speak Greek?
No.
You don't? Oh,
I know the Greek alphabet.
Hey, okay, that's a start. So enthusiasm comes from the Greek word entheos, which actually means inspired or filled with the divine. So, myself, Ali, Max, we're all filled with this divinity inside of us, just as every listener is as well. And again, enthusiasm is a powerful energy. So when it comes down to it, people are always doing business with people. People are attracted to passion and enthusiasm. And it's also a sign that you're likely living in purpose. It's hard to be enthusiastic about something that you don't care about. And people can feel that type of energy too, that dismissive, lackadaisical energy. So I think a lot of my success has been a product of my enthusiasm for life and just helping other people. And now more than ever, I think the world needs more enthusiastic leaders to take action and lead with positivity and optimism. So I know I spoke a lot.
That's what you're here for.
Quick recap. We got T for thoughts, H for habits, R for relationships, I for intention, V for vitality, and E for enthusiasm.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, guys, I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about it. Thank you for having me.
Heck yeah. Thank you for lending your insights.
Absolutely. Is there any final questions you guys have for me?
Yeah, how can our fitheads go find you online?
Yo, you fit heads, you crazy. You got to connect with me. Come on. Like, I know you want to after this conversation. So, best places to connect with me. Chances are, if you're listening to the Fit Heads podcast, you also listen to other podcasts. So check out mine. It's called the Energy Exchange Podcast. And it would mean the world to me if you check that out. If you hate it, you never have to listen again. And then my Instagram is Coach Jeremy 305. So you can just shoot me a DM me with the biggest takeaway you had from our conversation, with the biggest download you had from the show today. That would mean the world to me.
Heck yeah. I love it. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for sharing your energy.
Hell yeah. I appreciate both of you. And I'm running to another show at 5:30, but let's definitely connect. Like today's Tuesday. I'll shoot. We'll be in exchange. We'll be in contact via email. And if there's anything else you guys need from me, just let me know.
Sounds good. Great. Thanks to all the fit heads. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, rate and review. Yeah. And we'll see you next week.
Hey, do you guys have any words for the IG story?
I got one of these for them. How about that?
Hey, my those guns, Ali. Damn.